Good evening. My name is Erica Gothberg, and I would like to share with you my cultural psychology mini ethnography project. I apologize for how this has to look, but this is how I could get it done the best tonight. Methods. I used in-person and email for my contact. I have a young lady who I know, and I requested a consent from her verbally and asked if she would be willing to share some of her story with me. My participant was born in Syria and grew up in Baghdad and then came to the U.S. at the age of 12. She confirmed that yes, that was okay with her and she was willing to be a part of this project. So then in my follow-up, I said, well, I'd be expecting an email with some specific questions and even some hot button issues. And we talked a little bit about what that might look like. And I let her know the 3 issues that I was thinking about asking for so that she could be a little prepared. My data recording was done via email, and my qualitative analysis was through my question review. So for the questions that I asked in person, these are the questions that I asked her, and then I followed up with some a little bit more specifics in the email. So my first question that I wanted to know about was, can you describe for me the culture of life in Baghdad? Along with that, I asked some questions about, do you remember life being fast or slow, scared or secure, bright or dull, religious or not religious? So knowing that she left at the age of 12, I wanted to get some ideas of how it might have felt for a 12-year-old. Well, again, born in Syria, but she was quickly moved to Baghdad. So a young person to be living in this area, did she feel scared or secure? Did she feel like her days were full of bright colors, or were they just kind of dull and lifeless? And then does she remember having her religion be a part of her life there? Secondly, I said, can you describe what you remember as being very different from American culture? Again, I knew she came here at the age of 12, so I wanted to know what was the easiest thing to transition to when you did come to America, and something that still seemed similar or the same. Was there anything that she could point to that seemed similar to her life in Baghdad? Some of the hot button questions that I asked were, how do people of the Iraqi culture view same-sex marriage? I wanted to know, is it allowed by law? Is it shunned? And that's kind of more of a religious aspect on it. Is it accepted, or is it persecuted? The second hot button issue was, if there are any, what is the difference in gender roles in Iraq versus in America? I phrased it this way because I didn't want to presume that there are, based on what I know. I wanted to understand what she knew. And then follow up to that, I said, if they are similar, what might set Iraqis apart in this area? And she gave some good comments on that. And the last thing I asked was, are other races viewed differently in Iraq? And I just went on to say in the email that America is considered the melting pot. So there are many races in one country, and I wanted to know, are there many races in Iraq? And if there are, do they suffer through things like segregation and abuse like we have a history of here in America for other races that are not Caucasian European? A little bit about my culture. I consider myself American and Michigan. I know that sounds funny, but they're a little bit different, a little bit the same. So in America, we definitely value the principle of self-reliance, or we call it individualism, the pull yourself up by the bootstraps sort of mentality. We are in flux right now about our core thoughts on gender. As an individual, gender is looked at as being fixed, as in you were born male or female, and then you are that gender throughout your life. There's another thought of gender essentialism, which means that your biology determines your character. So this would be the thought of that if you are male, you are aggressive and possessive, and if you were born female, then you are kind and nurturing and caring. And the last mindset that we have identified as core for gender in America is gender is constructed. And this idea means that the gender is different, but it's a result of societal expectations. Not that we are born different, but that society expects different things. Also, in a May 2024 survey of the State of American Culture by Frameworks Institute, we saw that 61% of the participants in their survey indicated that our society needs to be fundamentally changed. They're looking for something new and different, not a restoration of a better past. But as far as unsure how to change the system, we feel like the system is rigged and failing, and that government is equated entirely with the leaders in charge. That's something we need to work on as American. Michigan culture, we're all about sports. It also shows our grit, meaning that pull yourself up by the bootstrings kind of comes across in our sports in Michigan. We're not super amazing usually at sports, but we have a lot of teams. So Tigers, Pistons, Lions, Red Wings, the Big Ten, University of Michigan and Michigan State, and our local athletes get a lot of playtime as well. The automotive industry has shaped Michigan with booms and busts. GM and Ford. In 1937, the United Auto Workers labor organization was also formed, which helped define our political and economic force in Michigan. In World War II, those plants were the, quote, arsenal of democracy. And then, of course, they had some struggles in the 21st century, but there's a small rise again recently. And outdoor recreation. The Michigan has been a vacation destination since the 1830s. With Lake Michigan, in 1919, we started our first park system, and we have nearly 100 state-operated parks and 12 plus state rec areas. It's very important to our culture. Iraqi culture, some of the interesting things that I got from her. Nightlife in Iraqi. She said that during the day, you pretty much stay home. I know she was young when she was there, but also, she noticed that people stay home, but at night, when the sun goes down, that's when you leave your house. I see that in some cultures here in America, but I definitely saw that when I was in Africa, and it seems to be the same in Iraq. She said at sunset, everyone, and she put it in quotes, like literally everyone, leaves their house. And she said some of the bright spots she had in her life there was that getting ice cream with her family at night when the days were slow. She would go out and they would get ice cream. But that some of those bright spots are also followed by dark spots. She does have memories of a bombing outside of a bank that she was in at a local market, and she said that that shaped her as far as some of the fears that she has even today, and that she can close her eyes and still just 100% see what happened. There's also a patriarchal society. She describes that the daughters and the mom would be home making dinner, and dad would be out working, and dad would come home and he eats first completely, and then everyone can dig in. So that's a strong patriarchal society there. Hot button issues, same-sex marriage. She said that any LGBTQ would be very looked down upon in Iraq, and she doesn't feel it will ever be normalized there. She did say that some people do go as far as killing the people or their partner because it brings shame to the whole family. They consider that handled when there's a killing that happens because of that. And that the whole family might accept you and your partner, but others will harm or bully you based on their perceptions of same-sex marriage. She said gender roles are fairly equal, but she does note some differences. She said that female nurses, if you're not a doctor, are very looked down upon, low salary, and almost looked at as a sex symbol, which surprised me. And that women wearing anything flashy at all is shamed, even if they are in public, not just at home. In public, they'll be shamed by people who are not their spouses. And other races, she said there's Kurds, Assyrians, and Turkmen. So to me, these seem like different nationalities of the same race of Arab people, but she says that culturally they're not the same. And she is a Sunni Muslim, and the Shia Muslims are in greater percentage in Baghdad, so there's some clashing over that. And that the Assyrians are actually Christian, and they have their own district and language in Nineveh, and they are a displaced people in her country. I see a benefit in this in the fact that it develops my skills of empathy for other people, expands my knowledge of other countries and cultures. I'm constantly trying to understand what's going on so that I can better know how to empathize with people. I know that sounds like a backwards way of saying the same thing, but it's true. As far as I'm concerned, discussion is forward progress. Even if you don't come to a consensus, our cultures are going to forever be different. So having any discussion together is forward progress, and I can no longer turn a blind eye. I know some of the things that happen there, and once you know, you have to do. So here are my references. Thank you for listening. Culture is something that should unite people, and I hope that you have a great evening and that you are able to get something about the Iraqi culture tonight.